Terrence Howard is just plain nutty.
Life. Please make way for life. Find the peace of God in you and show it. Shine through it. Push it and take up your stake. Take up your stake and be the Messiah for the day. And 2 days and 3 days if you can. And be a rascal also.
But let's talk about it here on All Things Theology. Cue my theme music.
All things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta get that theology to God, hallowed be, cause this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace, and welcome back to an episode of All Things Theology, where this is your host K-Dub, and today we're going to talk about Terrence Howard. If you don't know that name, you probably should. He's been in a couple movies. I know him from Hustle and Flow. I think that's what the movie, the whoop that trick, yeah. That's what I know him from. He's been on other movies, of course, but he was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, and my goodness, Joe Rogan does the longest interviews of anybody. It was a 3-hour interview, but there were some interesting sections on this podcast that, of course, this channel, we talk about theology, we talk about God, we talk about religion, that I was interested in that he said. I mean, there was some bizarre stuff and quantum physics and consciousness. Let me just say this. Terrence Howard is very rooted in some kind of pluralistic thought, maybe even universal, new age and new thought, conscious ideology. And that definitely came out in this video. So let's look at this first clip here together.
Person on the planet that's been thinking about it will now have ideas concerning, but not just us, but all humanoids throughout the entire universe will now get that same resonance and be able to apply it like the experiments with the rats.
Right.
You teach a rat something here in London, and then in New York you find the rats are doing the same thing.
Right.
Spontaneously, because of the morphic resonance, because we are all connected on this ether, and that waveform that's the consciousness. We are all just one great being.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about here is he's been talking about like, hey, if one person kind of does good, it kind of will permeate, kind of like, this lab rat experiment. Everybody else will kind of follow and do that. Well, how's that working? Because you can demonstrate where somebody's done a good action, but yet other people have not followed in that. It really doesn't understand the nature and the evil that exists in mankind. But let's allow him to continue.
That's what they forget. We're not separate. The universe is probably one cell inside of some super organism.
Right.
And we're just little who, little who's like Horton Hears a Who.
Do not ruin that movie for me.
No.
I love that movie, Horton Hears a Who. It's a good movie. If you understand it's a cartoon, it's not supposed to be reality. But I'm gonna let him finish this because you're going to see kind of the ideology he's coming from.
And trying to make sense of it. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing that we're making sense of it. But everything is just one great being. We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about it.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
How dare you?
We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about? Absolutely not. Jesus unequivocally taught there is one God. There's not all these multiple gods. It's polytheistic, and you kind of have this polytheistic, pantheistic, panentheism that's taught by Terrence here, right? You kind of have this God is the creation and the creation is God ideology. This is not what the Bible teaches. This is some kind of new thought, new conscientious ideology, but this is not taught from the scripture. Jesus and Buddha did not agree on these issues. Buddha certainly may have taught these things, but not Jesus. They didn't share the same worldview. So I thought that was interesting. That's why that's what first caught my ear when I was listening to this. And so
It's recognizing the divinity in you. What I did as a child, I said,
No, you don't need to recognize the divinity in you. You need to recognize the depravity in you. You're not a God. You're finite. You're limited. You don't have the capability that Yahweh possesses.
going to, instead of waiting for the Messiah to show up,
Watch this.
What if everybody picked up their torture stake and behaved and did the things that they had expected the Messiah to do?
Terrence Howard is actually arguing, hey, instead of, hey, looking to this Messiah, why don't you become the Messiah? You be the Messiah yourself.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
I mean, I guess, okay, but many false messiahs and false Christs will come, right? No, you're not to be the Messiah. There is only one Messiah. There is only one Christ. My goodness, there was so much bad theology in this. I know a lot of people have come at him for like the pseudoscience he was articulating in this interview, but obviously this is what I cared about.
If everybody just for one day walked around and behaved as if they were God himself and did the things that they would expect the creator. And we know God can't just be a male because
this is literally idolatry. This is literally idolatry that this man is advocating for. Some of you probably are like losing your minds, like, what is he saying? I mean, a lot of this interview sounded like he just got done watching Alice in the Wonderland. It was trippy for sure, and heretical as well, right? You know it is.
Man could produce a child without a female. Everything in the universe, as above, so below, like Billy Carson always talks about. You can't. Everything has an equal and opposite. It has to mate. Mating is a big part of what we do. The boron mates with nitrogen, and that's how the carbon happens. Everything inside of us, all our cells, they're mating.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he's trying to promote some kind of yin-yang theory. It's kind of hard to follow some of his train of thought sometimes in this interview. But let's go to this next clip here.
Alive and sentient because everything is alive. But we see everything as dead because of what the Bible said.
It depends what you mean by that. So, again, he didn't elaborate on that, but I don't want to say too much because he didn't elaborate on that. Everything is experiencing it and headed to decay, but the Bible wouldn't say everything is death. So again, if you're gonna try to critique in the Bible, you got to be a little more specific and nuanced because the Bible is. Obviously, the Bible recognizes that things are alive, right? And so, but well, let's keep going here.
Because it breathed into life, and the universe is just one big nothingness of dead. There's nothing dead in the universe.
Well, that's not even what the Bible says. Even when it says that God breathed into it, it's like this big nothingness of dead. I mean, sir, you're straw manning.
Do you want to build a
Straw man.
If you want to engage the Christian religion, let's do so fairly, right? The Bible doesn't say the world is some one big ball of death, right? Interesting. Again, we're heading to death, but clearly we're alive. We can talk. We can do all these things. We have conscience. We have mind. We have thought. All these. It's not something dead people do.
Everything is alive, and everything is a piece of God. So when we do good things, then God is considered God is good. When we do bad things, God works in mysterious ways.
Now, I would say God is still God, regardless of what you do. But before that, this is little God's doctrine, maybe some form of pantheism, where everyone has a piece of God in them. I mean, I don't even know what that means. What does a piece of God even mean? I mean, does God give he doesn't clarify further, but the unbeliever does not have a piece of God in them. They're a God hater. They need to come to God, right? But again, we're getting into some theological categories that I don't know if Terrence Howard is familiar with, or I mean, what?
It's just how we are behaving. And we can all take the conscious level and recognize, okay, somebody's got to do the right thing. And if you do the right thing, the right things happen. And you're going up against the stream of mankind. But
yeah, so sorry I'm pausing a lot, but he's saying some large categories that I want to deal with. So yeah, if you do the right thing, right things will happen. See, this is like prosperity gospel, positive confession, positive acts. But this is definitely new thought ideology, that by your actions, you can cause things in your life to happen. But I mean, this is silly. Your own experience tells you not that that's not true. I mean, Jesus, he appealed to Jesus earlier. Jesus' life tells us that's not true. He never sinned once, but look what happened in his life. So you see how silly this is?
Got the entire universe behind me. I have the universal phenomenon and observable evidence and data that stands behind it, and 97 patents and trademarks and copyrights and multiple industries that I've invented. Nobody else have ever invented tangential flight and the ability to fly or unlimited midair bonding.
So I did look something up, and I don't think he's actually speaking crazy nonsense here. I think he's actually saying the truth. So, but the universe is behind you. I mean, the universe is impersonal, doesn't care about you, doesn't have feelings. Again, many people, once they reject the true living God and they go to some kind of atheism or agnosticism or some kind of impersonal God, they want to personalize that. But one more clip and we will end this video. Let's check it out.
I was on a plane once, and I always ask the older people when they're sitting next to me, what's the best advice you can give a young man? You know, I was 33, and this when we were going over to Germany. This will take 1 minute. We were going over to Germany, and I asked this one guy that was like 70 years old, and right at the moment as we were on our way, he said, if you look out the right side of the plane, you'll notice the island of Ibiza. And he got real quiet. And then 5 minutes later, he said, have as much sex as you can now. This is before the advent of Viagra.
Whoa. So he told that to a single man. I mean, this is, again, a strange. Now, if you're married, hey, do as you please, right, with your spouse. But even, again, a lot of that needs to be, context and nuance. But again, Hollywood is one strange place, I'll say that.
And then I was coming back from the Czech Republic, and a few years later, and I asked this man as we got on the plane, and he sat next to me, and he waited until we got all the way near L.A., and as he was reaching up for his bags, he said, what's the best advice you can give a young man so he can be good, have a successful life? He said, you got to remember, in every person you meet, there's a little piece of God in them. And that's who you talk to. And I added to that, but make sure they see it in you first.
So this man on the plane says, hey, look, there's a little piece of God in you, right? And that's who they talk to. So they're talking to the piece of God that's in you. And Terrence Howard says, hey, well, make sure they see it first, right? To see that you have a piece of God in you. Again, just strange concepts. This is not Christian, anti-Christian at its finest, but he goes a little further here as well.
Wow. So that's what
Joe Rogan's impressed. Wow. There's nothing impressive about that, Joe. You can do a Bill Cosby. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, man.
Life principle is about make way for life. Please make way for life. Find the peace of God in you and show it, shine through it, push it, and take up your stake. Take up your stake and be the Messiah for the day, and 2 days and 3 days if you can, and be a rascal also.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
How dare you?
So be the Messiah for the day or two. I don't think there's any auditions for that. No, you're not to be the Messiah for a day or two. And then he says, be the Messiah, but then be the rascal as well. Well, those are in contrast, right? Being a rascal and being the Messiah are in contrast categories and definitions and terms. So one, you would have to choose one, but two, you can't be the Messiah. That role is already, filled, to use an acting, term it's no audition, sir. God's not looking for another Messiah. We have the true and living one, and it ain't you, it ain't me, it ain't nobody else, right?
I discovered half of this stuff while I was still watching porn.
I bet you did. Sir.
Turn off the light.
People's minds who just constantly watch that are just filled with all sorts of absurdities.
But it was just my imagination.
Yeah, I can guarantee that was the case. But why would you say that?
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Yeah. just a perverse mind being on play. But man, I thought that was interesting. What are y'all thoughts? Yeah. Y'all rocking with Terrence? Y'all think he had some interesting things to say? I know on this channel people are gonna be like, what did you just expose me to? But apparently he's got out of Hollywood and he's kind of trying to expose all these things he's seeing as well, especially in light of the P. Diddy saga and news. And so I wanted to get my weigh in on those and share my thoughts. What do you guys think? Hope you enjoyed this video. Till the next time, grace and peace. Yo, grace and peace. Thank you for watching another episode of All Things Theology. If you enjoyed what you heard today, go on and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. I promise to give you weekly lives, videos, interactions, exposing false teachers, sharing with you, the viewer, my theological beliefs, things about the culture, and the Bible. So if you're here for that, come on and join us. Also, if you would like to support this channel financially, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Links are in the description below. You can see content before it drops. You can also have Q&A sessions with also other Patreon members, YouTube members as well. So if you would like that, hit the description link in below.